Malaysia's manufacturing sector once benefited from the US-China trade tensions, but now with new US tariffs targeting Malaysian imports, the landscape is shifting.
We have to be realistic. Economy like Malaysia, we rely a lot on export. I call it tripartite: public industry, government and private sector. We need to sit down.
How can Malaysia turn this challenge into a new opportunity? Stay with us on Decimal Point as we connect the dots that shape our economic future. Today, we take you on an inspiring case study from across the globe, historical Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which was once the heart of America's steel industry. But when the industry declined, Pittsburgh didn't fade. Instead, it transformed. It's now home to major tech players like Apple and Google. Joining us is a respected academic and industry expert to explore how Malaysia can learn in the shift from Steel City to Silicon Dreams. Steel City being Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the US, and its transformation from a steel powerhouse to a hub for technology and innovation. And based on your expertise, how do you come to draw a parallel between Pittsburgh and Malaysia's manufacturing sector?
Okay, this idea started with when we look at the general ecosystem of Malaysian economics. Over the last 20 years, we've been trapped as a middle-income country. So we have two competitive advantages in my view. One is our semiconductor, the manufacturing base. It is more than 60% of our export. And the second part is palm oil. But that's also our competitive advantage. But unfortunately, I don't see we transform this. That's where the idea of Pittsburgh come in. So basically, they have three main area that I think the transformation need to be looked into. One, the basic infrastructure. That's what the Pittsburgh they did. They transformed from the steel. I mean, they didn't change 100% because the steel industry will provide you the basic infrastructure. Now the question to upgrade it, to make sure that industry will come. Because your steel industry is not competitive anymore, right? So how to make sure that other company, big company, come and produce product in Pittsburgh? So they invest a lot in infrastructure, new infrastructure. And one of the things, the first thing they do, you see the cost of internet. Average US cost of internet is about roughly about $2,000 US. But if you do business in Pittsburgh, it's $1,000. So that's attract a lot of investors to go there, set up their company. And of course, one of the things that I like about the Pittsburgh idea, they work with the public, with the university, especially Carnegie Mellon. This is also I see lacking in terms of what's happening in Malaysia. The government, the public sector didn't work with the public university, where we can produce a technology that necessity for our ecosystem, our economy, our people that at the end will use it. I think this is need to revamp. The third one will be the manpower. I think we rely too much now on the foreign worker. So highly skilled workers are needed if you want to boost your semiconductor So I think this is a three transformation. What Pittsburgh did can be, applied in the Malaysian context, especially in our semiconductor. Not only semiconductor, I also believe that palm oil also can do the same thing because it is very highly labor incentive based industry. And then we know we cannot sustain that because our population cannot work in plantation. They don't prefer to work in plantation. But if we remodel, transform our palm oil industry, for instance, it can be high-tech based, based on what Pittsburgh did.
But let's take a step back and tell me about how you came upon this idea about Pittsburgh and how we can implement it or learn from it here in Malaysia.
I spent a lot of time observing United States economics. Pittsburgh is always beside the baseball. They're very famous with the baseball. But they also have a very interesting approach. I see it in the Purdue Policy Research Institute. In that institute, we're not only looking at the policy. You'll be surprised, in that institute, we observe a lot on palm oil industry in Malaysia, on the best way, especially if I can touch a bit on tariff. That is the initial discussion when we see that the US government announced 25% tariff. So what is the best way in Malaysia to move forward? So based on our discussion, there's a forum actually at Purdue Policy Institute. That's the idea of Pittsburgh coming. Economy like Malaysia, we rely a lot on export. Negotiating with US will take time. So we believe that approach how to absorb this 20% through effectiveness. This is coming back to my research interest.
Yes.
I always talk about effectiveness either individually or nationally. So 20%, I believe that if we do three things, investing on infra, work with the, I call it triparty, public industry, government, and private sector. We need to sit down, find a way, because I believe that if you start now, 5 years from now, it can benefit these three parties, but it needs to be started somewhere. And I also believe that human capital and talent, that is very crucial for as we move forward. And the way I do research, I'm not looking at current. I always looking 5 years from now. I always discuss what is going to happen 2030. In fact, at the Institute we have simulation actually, which I cannot share with you, because we can predict actually what will happen in Malaysia 2030. 5% looks scary, but 95% look optimistic. If we do it properly within the simulation context. So this is the idea where the Pittsburgh come in, coming back to the effectiveness. Because it is too expensive to operate or run till production in Pittsburgh. Government make a very strong decision. We have to reinvest.
Malaysia is affected by global policies set by the countries we trade with. And in turn, we also set our own terms. Right now, we are at a turning point. But the real question is, what's our ambition and how do we get there?
Your visit and your leadership has catalyzed $90 billion of investment in energy and AI revolution in Pennsylvania. $90 billion.
Today's commitments are ensuring that the future is going to be designed, built, and made right here in Pennsylvania and right here in Pittsburgh, and I have to say right here in the United States of America.
President Donald Trump at the inaugural Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation Summit, where the CEOs from tech, finance, and energy gathered to promote the AI revolution.
What about the history of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? Why are they known as Steel City?
Okay, this is coming back to the history of American economics, where 70s, 60s, until late 70s, they are manufacturing based. They're very good at that, producing car, producing food can, because food can industry is quite big in US. So Pittsburgh have that advantage. A lot of blue workers with the adequate skill at the time. But 80s, due to regulation by the US labor, even some of the import from the steel or for manufacturing base become more expensive. This is where you see a lot of US companies, including Malaysia. Malaysia benefited from that, where they start to go out, reinvestment to Japan, for instance, 80s, Malaysia in the context of semiconductor. Like some of if you go back to Intel, Motorola, they've been here like 80s, during 80s they're already here. Because making business in US is very expensive. So that's why the declining on Steel City, because it is too expensive to operate or run steel production in Pittsburgh. Then this is government make a very strong decision, right? We cannot rely on this. We have to reinvest on high tech. So they started with building up their infrastructure. So making, like I said, electricity, internet become cheaper in comparison to other state country. Even you can look at Detroit, for instance. If I may go beyond Pittsburgh, Detroit used to be known as the car hub, automotive hub. But look what happened to Detroit. Ford have to close their factory. Of course, Japanese car came in with much more cheaper, with value for money. So, but I think Pittsburgh is very interesting. They didn't stop there, especially the government. The government can reinvest on the infrastructure, what they have. They didn't stop 100% on steel-based industry, but they build up on that, making more efficient, making more interesting. So by mid-80s, you can see like I said, 5 years, 85, 86, you can see that now the high-tech company, Google, Apple, start to go there because of it is very relatively cheap to operate, because then business is all about how you reduce costs, right? Yeah. So this is where Pittsburgh appeal to all the big giant company, including, if I said now it's a Nippon Steel company. They found out it's more appeal to reinvest, plus with the current US government policy, where they want to have all the US-based manufacturers back to reinvest in US.
Now let us talk about Pittsburgh, right? Where in recent news in 2025 or June 2025, there has been a recent investment by Japan's Nippon Steel, about $14 billion into US steel in Pittsburgh. Could you tell us more about that?
Okay, the investment itself is the manifestation of how effective is the industry. In terms of the technology itself, Pittsburgh already have that technology. They are more advanced at one time. The only thing, the cost, due to the labor incentive, due to the policy of US government, make it more expensive in comparison to Japan at one time and China. Now, because of Pittsburgh itself, they already invest on the technology. So this is something that Nippon Steel find it is unresistible. It's resistible to just not to ignore Pittsburgh, So that's where they come in. Come in because of the technology itself. They can acquire the technology that Pittsburgh offer. And under this joint, if I use the term by US government, the joint investment between the two governments, is basically to bring back or to uphold the basic infrastructure of Pittsburgh.
Now, I find it very interesting. You mentioned Apple, Google, and Facebook. They chose to set up in a place in Pittsburgh instead of, for example, somewhere more technology-driven. Because Pittsburgh is being more heavy industry, steel industry kind of feel. And why did they choose Pittsburgh instead of somewhere like Silicon Valley?
To answer that, very simple. Because California is very expensive. And I mean, in California, it might be more due to the tax and everything. Pittsburgh, even though they have tax, local tax, but then again, because the infrastructure they build up have made them become more efficient. Keyword, efficient. The efficiency is there within the Pittsburgh. So as a business, of course, I always look up for, we always look up for how to reduce costs, how to maximize profit, what is the effective way of doing things. So this is what Pittsburgh offer within their ecosystem of steel industry. Steel industry, heavy industry is still their basis. That is their advantage. So they'll build up on that, making it appeal more interesting to the business. And plus, like I mentioned, when the government of Pittsburgh worked with the local university, in this case, and mostly Carnegie Mellon University, where they give a lot of grant to come up with new technology, which is at the end will used by all this industry, Google, Facebook, maybe Uber. So all this technology can help the industry to boost their product. That's what makes Pittsburgh more interesting, more appeal to the businesses. Pittsburgh didn't exactly wipe out all the steel industry. So from there, they build up the high-tech part. So same thing, I think we have that basic infrastructure now to boost it up.
Malaysia has a strong manufacturing base and big digital ambitions. There's a lot that we can learn from how Pittsburgh took its leap. However, can we move fast enough to stay ahead in a world that's changing by the minute? Now, Pittsburgh represents one of the most significant and transformative chapters in the US industrial history. So what lessons can Malaysia take in their pursuit of becoming a technology hub, a regional technology hub?
They can do this immediately by upgrading all the existing infrastructure. For instance, they might want to visit our multimedia super corridor. They might want to reboot or rebrand Cyberjaya because we already have the initial infrastructure. Like I mentioned, Pittsburgh didn't exactly wipe out all the steel industry. Okay. They still maintain that, the basic one, So from there, they build up the high-tech part. So same thing, I think we have that. Basic infrastructure now to boost it up. This is where some of our regional partners can come in. Like nowadays, for you to become to have that competitive advantage, you can work with your partner like Singapore. Singapore has certain technology that can be used in Malaysia. Of course, China there, Japan there, which is we have a very long, a very good historical relationship with these two big countries. Some of the technology can be bring in, but we can use that technology that applicable in the Malaysian context of economy. More efficient way of doing things within the palm oil industry. We need a very good technology. I mean, like harvesting, for instance, you cannot use labor anymore. If you invest in technology, like say one people man the machine and can harvest about 100 hectares, so you already cut a lot of costs there. So our product become more efficient, like what Pittsburgh did again. The appeal is you do business in Pittsburgh, it's much cheaper compared to other region or other city. So this is what Malaysia should look into, palm oil. The second one is semiconductor. Semiconductor, I would say that the most important thing to focus on the manpower, our talent. Like we can have a lot of like Tesla, even Intel want to reinvest, or Amazon want to reinvest in Malaysia. But if we don't have the local talent, at the end, this company will shift to where they can find the talent that can cater their needs, their industry needs. So these three things, I think immediate that government can do. Even like palm oil. AI can do a lot of things, like prediction of harvesting, prediction of how to fertilize that product, how to replant again, All these things can be done through AI. And we have a lot of GLC here that government can easily, I use word force. The force is via through incentive. If you invest more in technology, give free tax for 10 years, 5 years, then the business, I'm sure business will do that. Because currently, if there's no incentive to invest, if I'm a businessman, I still use labor. Because labor is the cheapest way to do things, right? Go all out with 5Gs, for instance. Make sure that 5Gs is very cheap, even compared to Singapore. I always mention Singapore because when it comes to high tech, they're already in advance from us. At the same time, servicing industry, don't forget, a lot of servicing industry that we can improve. Within one day, you can get approval to open your plant here. So that's another way to look into this thing. Like Pittsburgh, what they did, you apply everything online. Within 24 hours, you get the answer.
You also mentioned something about, of course, again, repeating the 3 points, right? Capital or human talent. We also have the partnership.
Yeah.
But more importantly, also you mentioned about the role of the government. How can Sarawak help us in the pursuit of becoming a regional technology hub?
One other thing good about Sarawak, with the new capital of Indonesia, administrative capital will be in Kalimantan or Borneo area. If they invest on infrastructure as good as what they have in new Indonesian administrative center, and focus on certain industry that Indonesia cannot tap, right? For instance, one of the things that Indonesia still lack of AI, right? They're focusing more on startup. So I would suggest that Sarawak focus on this AI-based technology, and of course plantation, palm oil plantation. If they can come with the model, the best practice of palm oil industry, like I said, more on technology based. So then this can be also like I don't know, maybe one giant caterpillar, the industry caterpillar, heavy machine industry. That can be one of the focus for Sarawak. That they can leverage on that. Plus, I think the role of university, I have to be specific, but UNIMAS, because UNIMAS is science-based. And there's a very good medical and engineering-based university. So medical technology can be one of the advantage for Sarawak. Now what they need to refocus on what they can boost on the technology hub, technology medical hub, to cater market from Indonesia actually. So that's the way forward I see for government of Sarawak, by following the Pittsburgh model. One, infra, all out, thinking about infra for 5 years from now. Second, work with the private entity and university, give some funding, but make sure that funding goes to what needs of Sarawak industry for future, like that 5 years from now. And it's not talent, local talent. I think in terms of population, they have a very good amount of people, young people, energetic people, which is, if they invest on them, automatically, I think I can see Sarawak can be the next hub after Penang, Johor, Selangor, will be Kuching. I won't be surprised for next 5 years.
Malaysia faces its own set of challenges, like closing talent gaps, funding R&D, supporting the private sector, and managing regulations. But with examples like Pittsburgh, we can learn how to become a strong technology hub. Be sure to join us next time as we connect the dots on Decimal Point.